First off, I want to say thank you. Thank you for never giving up on the desire to have healthy habits. It is a lifelong pursuit, isn't it? So over the next 3 days, I'm going to send you short videos with my top 3 tips, actually 4 tips, because today you get 2, on how to have and maintain a healthy lifestyle. So first today, we have 2 of them. So the first thing, the very first thing I want to say is chuck the diet mentality. I have learned not only from my own personal experience, but I have learned from many, many clients that the diet mentality does not work. Now, that said, I'm not saying there's no restriction. We have to have some restriction. You can't go hog wild and eat whatever you want and however much you want. But as far as calorie restriction and those specific diets, do they work? Do you know anybody who has been on a diet and lost weight and kept it off? There you go. So look around at your friends and your family, at yourself. Do diets work? No, they do not. And I'll tell you why. Let me grab this real quick. So our limbic system, this reptilian primal part of our brain, what does it do if you try to stop breathing? Can you force yourself to stop breathing? I had a son, he used to try to pass out, or he used to stop breathing when he would get mad, and what would he do? Pass out and start breathing. I never had to worry about it because I knew the body would take over. So when we want to stop breathing, the limbic system comes in, shuts down this prefrontal cortex so that our willpower is nil and we have no control. So my whole spiel over the last couple of years since I wrote my book has been that addiction isn't a disease, that we have the power, we have the control. And I hold strong and firm to that belief. But there is an exception. When we restrict, our limbic system comes in and shuts down this prefrontal cortex, and then we don't have control, just like when we're breathing. And so when we restrict, when we go on a restrictive diet, here's this little, see how cute that little purse is? That was my mom's. We pull to one side, we restrict calories, and what happens? Swings to the other side, right? So what do we need to do? What do we do instead of diet? Well, you want to make sure to eat healthy. You want to focus on healthy foods. I know sugar is an issue. That's a whole nother video in and of itself. But what can we do? So you let go of the diet mentality. No more pulling back. And then what happens? It might take a little while, but eventually it settles down right in the middle, right? Settles down. No more binging, no more swinging back and forth. Finally, a normal relationship with food. So tip number 1, bam, chuck the diet mentality. No calorie restriction. If you want to try to not eat sugar or whatever, you can do whatever you want. With mindfulness, you can do whatever you want, unless your brain thinks it's starving to death because it's not getting enough calories. Okay, so tip number 1, no diets. All right, tip number 2, super, super important. You got to decide if you want it. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's so true, because here's the deal. You have to want the health more than you want the high that you get from the food. Once you figure that out, that you want the health more, then you're in good shape. And I know that sounds funny, but here's the thing. My daughter plays the piano. I try to play the piano, but my daughter really plays the piano. She's been taking lessons for, I don't remember, lots of years, lots and lots of years. And she's really good. And she practices every day. And it's hard and it's painstaking work. But you know what? She earned this talent, this skill that she has. She worked for it. And it's the same thing with healthy eating. It takes work, right? Especially when we've gotten in the habit of not eating right. If Chloe would have started off with bad habits, it would have been a lot harder for her, even because she would have had to correct those bad habits. So when I say you've got to want it more than you want the high from the food, that means, are you willing to work for it? Because it's work. It takes work. It takes mental energy. It takes focus to be able to make these changes, whatever they are, whether it's food or exercise or just getting up early or whatever these good, healthy habits are. It takes work, and you got to be willing to put in the effort. And normally I would just say, do it. I mean, just make sure that you do want it more. But here's the thing. If you were going through a divorce, or if you had a parent that just died, would that be a good time to take up the piano? Probably not. I mean, maybe you want to focus on something else. For the most part, I totally understand. Sometimes there's times in life when the high from the food outweighs the desire to be healthy. Not that we want it to be like that, or not that that's a good thing. It just is sometimes. And so tip number 3, we'll call this an extra credit tip, is to not beat yourself up. Do not beat yourself up if you find that in actuality, you need that high more. And then that's when you start delving deep and getting into the why. Why do I want to do this? You have to think of that long-term why. And hopefully it's not long-term that's up here. Hopefully that's a short-term thing. And then you can start making the effort. But what I'm saying is, number 1, drop the mentality of diets. And number 2, make sure that you actually have the desire, because you're going to need it, because you're going to have to dig in and you're going to have to get to work, and it ain't easy. So those are my tips for today. I'll send you another one tomorrow and then the next day, and hopefully we'll keep having a relationship after that. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.